Well, welcome to video 1 for Sailing Vessel Animaashi. And this video is going to be a little bit different than normal. Probably going to be a little bit different from things moving forward. But I feel it is important to kind of get our backstory on why we are where we are and how we're going to go forward and how we got here. So we get a little bit of monologue. You're going to see a lot of me with a lot of hair from back in March talking to this camera. And when we had started our idea for a YouTube channel, the thought was we were going to be doing some traveling out west via RV. But between various happenstance of life, we have had to modify that to where we are now, and to the story you may have been following through photographs and text on Facebook and the periodic live streams over on the SV Animaashi page. So, welcome. And if you are not quite interested in long monologues, feel free to tune in for video 2. We're still hammering out the kinks of how we'll be composing these in a stylization of which we will utilize. So, we'll see how that settles. Thank you. So these are the stories of sailing vessel Animaashi, the family who cruise her, the adventures we will embark upon, and our lives going forward into this world of uncertainty that we have encountered. We will soon be leaving the safe confines of this marina and heading deep into the unknown, at least the unknown for us, and certainly into adventures of which we have not yet even begun to fathom. So, this isn't exactly how I wanted to start this whole thing off. Wife and I are planning to start providing some content to YouTube and to kind of document some of our adventures that we're going to be eventually getting to, which included some travels out west to some parks, big ones, Zion, Bryce, Arches, but we're going to have to start off a little bit differently because we've got a problem. As of today, March 8th, 21, I have been told in rather concise terminology and rather blatantly by a specialist physician that we have to get out of our house or die. That's kind of the short of it. Over the past year and a half, I personally have been developing some rather moderate to severe medical issues in relation to a mold sensitivity in a home that is not necessarily riddled with mold, but definitely has some of it going on in there. This is probably the backstory section here. But between the wife and I, we have a couple of dogs, and we've got a 2-year-old. And it's not just me that's going to suffer on this. The baby is too. Young children have severe asthmatic developmental something to do with their age and the ease of which severe asthma can onset when exposed to allergens or molds or toxins. That's why you get a lot of public health information out there about vacuuming your floor and keeping the house clean to remove dust and pollen and dander that could trigger these asthmatic episodes. So the baby and I have to leave, or the suck is really going to get turned up on us. And for me right now, it's pretty bad. And I've been told that I need to leave immediately, and I need to take the baby with. And of course, the wife and the dogs have to go because we're a family, and we can't come back ever, or until remediation happens, um, which is too cost prohibitive to consider at the moment. Um, we haven't even gotten an estimate. There are no builders, contractors available for 2 or 3 years in our area. And our project is small fry compared to these multi-million-dollar homes that these people are going to go work at. But we need probably about $150,000 to $250,000 in work to essentially strip a 150-year-old house to the rafters, joists, and studs and rebuild it, and to lift it up off the ground and actually make a basement that doesn't seep groundwater when it comes down the hill. So we have to leave. And we have to leave tomorrow. And I have a business to operate, which is going to have to be done remotely. And the most economical option that we have discovered is to move onto a boat. There's nothing ideal about this, and there's nothing good about this, except we're being forced into a lifestyle change that we're not ready for and that we were not necessarily planning to take. We had some ideas, but, those just, middle-aged people having ideas about trying to spice life up with a kid. And we're going to have to do that. We have to do it now. And if we don't do it, we're dead or something. So that's where we are. Tonight I am doing some packing, but we're going to have to go live a new life. And a lot of people have kind of started doing this. We just don't have an option. So I'm going to keep packing. We've got to move some appliances over. We got to move some printers over. I got a pantry to fill with coffee and spices and all that good stuff. And I'm going to go to work in the morning, and I'm going to do what I can for a couple hours. Then we hit the road, and we're looking for a boat. And we're not coming back till we find the boat we need, however long that takes. And just like that, our adventure began. And it was time to learn how to live in something significantly smaller than our home. So after we had the trailer loaded up, we spent some time with family, went back to the campground, got some work taken care of, wandered around for a while, enjoyed our time in the fresh air of northern Michigan's spring, and watched the rest of the snow melt. After that, it was time to go find a boat. At the time, our plan was to stay mostly on the Great Lakes for the summer and to find somewhere to live for the winter. So we needed a boat that was going to be sizable enough for us to live on with the dogs and the child. And because we were living on the Great Lakes, we needed a boat that was not only heavy, but fairly fast for our light winds. This research kind of led me down the path of looking at the Endeavor series of boats, in particular, the Endeavor 38, which has 18,000 pounds of displacement, and a sail area to displacement ratio of near 17, which means the boat will actually move on light air days here on the lakes. We were in luck, as there were 2 Endeavor 38s in the Great Lakes region. This boat would eventually become our home, the Katie Marie, located in Waukegan, Illinois. This footage was captured as we were doing our initial walkthrough and inspection of the boat. We knew that with our price range, we were going to be buying something that needed some work. After a long drive to and from Chicago area, we stopped back to visit with family and to take care of some chores for the spring. And then it was back to the north with more exploration of the beautiful Camp Petoskey, located just east of Petoskey. A marine survey and a final inspection later, we had purchased what would become sailing vessel Animaashi, and we were headed across the lake. Our first stop would be Ludington, approximately 120 nautical miles northeast of Waukegan. This trip was rougher than we would have liked, but the weather window existed only for that night. Being unfamiliar with the boat, I chose to motor across the lake as the winds were going to be unfavorably strong throughout the night. This first passage tested both our endurance and resolve with waves up to 3 feet and temperatures into the low 30s. After a beautiful sunrise, we finally arrived at Ludington. After leaving Ludington, we ventured northwards towards Frankfort and then onwards to Leland. The passage from Frankfort to Leland was quite rough, as we had 3-foot waves off the beam in the Manitou Passage. Kayla and Gordon had left and drove back to Petoskey with a friend, and another friend of mine joined us for the trip from Leland to Petoskey, which was absolutely calm and beautiful. After about 2 weeks involving 4 days on the water, a variety of weather conditions, we had successfully navigated from Waukegan, Illinois to Petoskey, Michigan. This footage, captured significantly later than our arrival date, shows a fairly full marina and definitely warmer weather. We had done it, we had arrived back home, and we could settle in for the summer. During our trip north, we didn't quite have the time to do much video work. So this video is somewhat lacking in the details of the journey. Join us for the second episode, where we have a lot of projects we're working on and a fairly significant announcement that we will make. For notifications on future videos, please subscribe using the button below. Also, follow us on Facebook under SV Animaashi. A link to our Facebook page and website will be in the description of this video.